June 22, 1941. The same day, Wehrmacht launched Operation Barbarossa across Soviet western border. 3 million German soldiers pouring into Soviet territory from Baltic Sea to Black Sea. Largest invasion in human history. But there was another invasion, one that history almost forgot. 1,000 kilometers north, beyond Arctic Circle, where sun never sets in summer, where it never rises in winter, where temperature drops to 50 degrees below 0 Celsius. This was Operation Silver Fox, Hitler's plan to capture Murmansk, the frozen North's only ice-free port. The lifeline that would keep Soviet Union alive through entire war. Most people never heard of this operation. It does not appear in most World War II documentaries. No Hollywood movies made about it. Yet it was one of most ambitious operations of entire war. German mountain troops, elite Gebirgsjäger, trained in Alps, now facing Arctic tundra. Finnish soldiers, fighting to reclaim territory lost in Winter War. And Soviet defenders, the 14th Army, determined not to let anyone take Murmansk, the port through which Allied supplies would flow. Lend-Lease convoys, American tanks, British planes. Soviet survival depended on keeping this port open. Hitler knew it, Stalin knew it, and thousands of men were about to die trying to capture or defend few kilometers of frozen wasteland. This is story of war beyond imagination, where nature was enemy as deadly as any soldier, where darkness lasted 2 months without break, where men froze to death in their sleeping bags, where entire offensive ground to halt not because of enemy resistance, but because human beings simply could not survive conditions they faced. This is story of Operation Silver Fox, the Arctic Front, the forgotten hell of World War II, May 1941. German High Command finalizing plans for Operation Barbarossa. Everyone focused on drives toward Moscow, Leningrad, Kiev. But one general looking north, General Nikolaus von Falkenhorst, commander of German forces in Norway, he studying maps of Arctic, the Kola Peninsula, Murmansk, the prize that could strangle Soviet Union before war truly began. Murmansk, only Soviet port on Arctic Ocean that stays ice-free year-round, thanks to Gulf Stream current keeping harbor open even in deepest winter. In 1941, this port handling modest cargo. But von Falkenhorst understood what was coming. Once Germany attacked Soviet Union, Britain and America would send aid. Convoys sailing around Norway, through Barents Sea, delivering to Murmansk. If Germany captured this port, those convoys had nowhere to go. Soviet Union cut off from Western supplies. The war could be over before it truly started. Von Falkenhorst presenting plan to Hitler. Operation Silver Fox. Silberfuchs in German. Three-pronged attack against Soviet positions in far north. Main thrust toward Murmansk itself. Secondary objectives. The Murmansk Railway running south to rest of Soviet Union. Nickel mines at Petsamo providing Finland with vital war material. The plan ambitious. Perhaps too ambitious. Von Falkenhorst requesting specific forces. Mountain troops. Gebirgsjäger. Men trained for alpine warfare. They would need every bit of that training. Because Arctic was nothing like Alps. Hitler approved plan late May, giving von Falkenhorst 2 corps. Mountain Corps Norway under General Edvard Dietl. These troops already in Norway since 1940 campaign. They experienced cold weather operations, but nothing could prepare them for what was coming. Finnish forces would support attack from north. Finland, eager to reclaim territory lost to Soviets in Winter War just year before. Finnish troops experienced Arctic conditions. They understood terrain, understood winter. But even they were about to learn lessons they never imagined. German planners studying maps, satellite photos, intelligence reports. Everything pointed to quick victory. Soviet 14th Army spread thin, defending enormous front. Only 60,000 men covering hundreds of kilometers. German and Finnish forces combined numbered over 100,000. 3-2 advantage in artillery. Air superiority. Professional mountain troops against mostly conscripts. On paper it looked easy. Capture Murmansk in 2 weeks? Link up with Finnish forces? Seal off entire Soviet Arctic? Simple. Except maps did not show reality of terrain. Tundra that turned to impassable bog in summer. Mountains with no roads, rivers with no bridges. And weather forecasts meant nothing beyond Arctic Circle. Temperatures could swing 40 degrees in single day. Fog could last weeks, and no one could predict when first snow would come, or when polar night would begin, turning world into permanent darkness. German planners assumed summer offensive would succeed before winter arrived. They were about to discover Arctic had its own rules, and those rules cared nothing for German timetables. Late May, first German mountain units arriving at staging areas in northern Norway. Town of Kirkenes becoming forward base, just few kilometers from Soviet border. Soldiers seeing landscape for first time. Many came from Bavaria, from Austrian Alps. They knew mountains, knew snow, but this was different. Endless horizons of rock and bog. No trees above certain altitude, no shelter, no roads, just wilderness stretching to horizon. And mosquitoes, clouds of them. In Arctic summer, mosquitoes are biblical plague. Men wrapping faces in netting, smearing hands with repellent. Nothing helped. Sleep became impossible. Work became torture. And they had not even crossed border yet. Finnish liaison officers briefing Germans on Arctic warfare. Do not underestimate distance. What looks like 5 kilometers can take full day to cross. Bog will swallow vehicles. Bring everything you need because no resupply once offensive starts. Winter comes fast. When it does, you need shelter ready or you die. Germans listening but not really hearing. They were conquerors of Europe. They smashed through Ardennes, conquered Norway in weeks. How hard could frozen wasteland be? June 20th. Final briefing. Officers gathering in Kirkenes headquarters. Von Falkenhorst addressing assembled commanders. Operation begins June 29th, 7 days after Barbarossa launches. Give Soviets time to react to main invasion before we hit them here. We advance in 3 columns. First, push directly toward Murmansk. Second, strike toward Murmansk Railway. Third, capture Salla further south with Finnish forces. Questions from commanders. What about supply? Von Falkenhorst confident. Finnish railways will handle logistics. We advance fast before weather turns. More questions about Soviet defenses. Intelligence reports minimal fortifications. Mostly border posts. This will be blitzkrieg in snow. One commander raising concern. Oberstleutnant Klaus Müller, veteran of Norway campaign. He asking about winter preparations. What happens if we do not take Murmansk before October? Von Falkenhorst dismissive. We will have Murmansk by August. Winter not factor. Müller wanting to argue but saying nothing. He's seen Arctic winter once. He knew what was coming. But no one wanted to hear pessimism eve of great offensive. So he stayed quiet. And thousands would pay price for that silence. June 28th. Last day before attack. Soldiers writing letters home, checking equipment, loading ammunition. Weather perfect. Midnight sun hanging in sky. Temperature almost pleasant. 15 degrees Celsius. Men sweating in summer uniforms. Hard to imagine this same place could be death trap in few months. German soldiers confident. They crushed Poland in weeks, France in months. Soviet Union looked weaker than either. This would be easy. Quick victory. Home by Christmas. That was always the promise. Always the lie. Across border. Soviet forces preparing. They knew attack was coming. Stalin received warnings. NKVD intelligence reported German buildup in Norway. But 14th Army under Lieutenant General Valerian Frolov was not ready. Many units under strength. Defensive positions incomplete. Minefields partially laid. But Frolov had one advantage Germans did not appreciate. His men knew this territory. They trained here, lived here. They understood what Arctic could do, and they were willing to use geography as weapon. Let Germans advance into wilderness, then let winter do the killing. June 29, 1941. 0400 hours. German artillery opening fire. Shells screaming across border. Soviet positions erupting in explosions. The northernmost front of World War II had begun. Operation Silver Fox was live. And for next 3 years, men would fight and die in conditions beyond human imagination. But first, they had to survive summer. And nobody warned them that Arctic summer might be worse than winter. First German soldiers crossing Soviet border, 600 hours, June 29th. Mountain Corps, Norway, advancing in 3 columns. Weather still good. Soldiers expecting quick march to Murmansk. 150 kilometers to target. 2 weeks at most. That was plan. Reality proved different within first hour. Lead elements hitting first obstacle. River Titovka, small on maps, in reality 40 meters wide. Swift current, no bridge. Ford marked on German maps did not exist. Engineers rushed forward. Beginning bridge construction. Soviet artillery opening fire. Shells bracketing river crossing. German troops taking cover. What should have been simple crossing turned into 6-hour operation. Finally, bridge completed. Troops pushing across. Behind them, traffic jam forming. Trucks, artillery, supply wagons, all waiting for single bridge. Already falling behind schedule. And war was 6 hours old. 2nd Battalion pushing inland. Hauptmann Friedrich Weber leading Mountain Infantry Company. 48 men, all experienced Alpine troops. They confident. Terrain looked manageable from distance. Rolling hills, sparse vegetation. Easy march. Then they left road. Within 100 meters everything changed. Ground soft. Bog hidden beneath innocent-looking grass. Men sinking to knees, then waist, equipment dragging them down. 30-kilogram packs becoming anchors. Weber ordering lighter loads. Men abandoning extra ammunition, extra rations, just to stay mobile. And they barely started. Mosquitoes descending like biological warfare. Clouds so thick men breathing them in, crawling into eyes, ears, down collars, repellent useless, face netting torn by undergrowth, men scratching until skin bled, then mosquitoes feeding on blood. Nightmare cycle. Some soldiers developing infections from scratched wounds. Medics overwhelmed treating mosquito-related injuries before single shot fired in anger. Welcome to Arctic warfare, where nature was first enemy. Progress measured in meters per hour instead of kilometers. Maps showing open terrain proved worthless. Rock fields appearing. Boulders size of houses. No way around. Only over. Men climbing in full gear, carrying machine guns, mortars, ammunition, slipping on wet rock, falling, injuries starting, sprained ankles, broken wrists. Men who could not walk had to be carried, slowing everyone further, and Soviet resistance had not even begun. 3rd day. First serious contact. Soviet border troops established defensive position on ridge. Machine guns covering approaches. Germans attempted frontal assault. Old tactics from France. Infantry advancing with artillery support. Except artillery could not keep up. Still stuck kilometers behind fighting through same terrain. Infantry just crossed. So infantry advanced without support. Straight into prepared positions. Disaster. 23 men dead in 10 minutes. Another 40 wounded. For enemy position holding maybe 30 soldiers. Weber pulling back, calling for air support. Luftwaffe promised would dominate skies here. Where were they? Weather answering that question. Fog rolling in from sea, thick as wool. Visibility 50 meters. Planes grounded in Norway. No air support coming. Weber forced to wait. 6 hours. 12. 18. Fog not lifting. Men sitting in open. No shelter. Rain starting. Cold rain. Temperature dropping. Men shivering in summer uniforms. Because this was supposed to be easy summer campaign. Nobody packed winter gear. Some men trying to dig in, finding permafrost half-meter down. Ground frozen solid even in June. Cannot dig foxholes in frozen rock. So men sat exposed, wet, cold, miserable, and they still had not taken single objective. July 2nd, 4th day of offensive. Fog finally clearing. Germans organizing proper attack on Soviet ridge position. Artillery finally catching up. 3 batteries. Pounding ridge for 2 hours. Ammunition expenditure enormous. Each shell brought forward by truck over terrible roads. Then by hand through bog. Logistics nightmare. But ridge position must be taken. So they fired. Finally assault going in. Infantry advancing. This time Soviets abandoned position. Fell back to next ridgeline. Germans capturing empty trenches. Found evidence of hasty evacuation. Food still warm. Dead Soviet soldiers left behind. Germans amazed these men held out so long against superior force. But they held. And bought time for main defense lines further back. Maps showing Murmansk 140 kilometers away. 4 days into offensive. Germans advanced barely 15 kilometers. Rest of operation calculated from this nightmare pace. 140 kilometers would take 37 days. More than month. And summer would be over by then. Von Falkenhorst receiving reports. Furious at slow progress. Ordering faster advance. Commanders trying to explain terrain difficulties. Von Falkenhorst not interested in excuses. Ordering special assault groups. Lightly equipped infantry racing ahead to seize key points. Leave slow units behind. July 5th. Assault group led by Oberleutnant Hans Schneider. Pushing forward. 60 men. Light packs. Moving fast. They covered 20 kilometers in 2 days. Record pace for this terrain. Reaching Litsa River. Major obstacle. Wider than Titovka. Stronger current. And opposite bank crawling with Soviet defenders. Schneider radioing back. Found major defensive line. Requesting support. Support still 30 kilometers behind. Schneider ordered to hold position. Wait for main force. But Soviets not waiting. July 7th. Soviet counterattack hitting Schneider's isolated force. 2 companies of Soviet infantry, supported by mortars. Schneider's men outnumbered 3-1. Fight lasting 6 hours. Germans running low on ammunition. Casualties mounting. Schneider calling for emergency resupply. Luftwaffe attempting airdrop. But wind, always wind in Arctic. Drop scattered across square kilometer. Most landing in Soviet positions. Schneider's men forced to withdraw. Abandoning dead. Falling back 20 kilometers. Losing all gains from week of fighting. German commanders meeting July 8th. Reassessing situation. Original plan in shambles. Supposed to be in suburbs of Murmansk by now. Instead, stuck 40 kilometers from start line. Losses already 10%. And not from enemy action. Half casualties from accidents. Falls. Frostbite even in summer from cold rain. Exhaustion. Supply system breaking down. Von Falkenhorst facing reality. Quick victory impossible. Decision time. Continue attack or dig in. Orders coming from Berlin. Continue attack. Take Murmansk before winter. Mid-July. Germans regrouping. New plan. Concentrate forces against single axis, straight toward Murmansk along coast road. Only real road in entire area. Narrow track, but better than cross-country nightmare. Finnish forces would support from north. Pincer movement. Classic tactic. Except Finns having own problems. Finnish 3 Corps attacking toward Salla further south. They advanced better than Germans. Finns understood Arctic, but they hitting stronger Soviet defenses. Every ridge defended. Every river contested. Summer offensive turning into bloody stalemate. German assault resuming July 15th. This time with concentrated force. 4 battalions hitting Litsa River line. Air support finally coordinating properly. Artillery preparation lasting full day. Ammunition expenditure astronomical. But this time working. Soviet defenses cracking. Germans forcing river crossing July 16th. Establishing bridgehead. Pushing Soviet defenders back 5 kilometers. 10, 15. First real success of campaign. Morale soaring. Maybe Murmansk still possible. But Soviet 14th Army not broken. Just falling back to next prepared line. Ridge after ridge. Each one defended. Each one costing blood. And German supply lines stretching. Trucks breaking down on terrible roads. Fuel running short. Ammunition expenditure unsustainable. Artillery batteries firing less. Saving shells. Infantry attacking with less support. Casualties rising. Replacement system not working. Men lost, stayed lost. Companies shrinking. Battalions operating at half strength. End July. Germans reaching Murmansk's outer defensive ring, 60 kilometers from city center. Fortified line, concrete bunkers, minefields, barbed wire. Soviet 14th Army concentrated here, 60,000 men, all of them, plus reinforcements arriving from south. Stalin not abandoning Murmansk. Too important. German intelligence reporting Soviet strength tripled since June. Von Falkenhorst requesting reinforcements. Berlin saying none available. Everything going to Barbarossa, main fronts. Arctic was secondary theater. Either break through with current forces or accept failure. August 1st. Temperature dropping. Weather turning. Fog becoming permanent feature. Rain nearly constant. Men never dry. Trench foot appearing. First cases of frostbite, even though technically still summer. Because Arctic summer means 10 degrees Celsius and rain. Not snow yet, but cold enough, wet enough, miserable enough. Morale sinking. Letters home turning pessimistic. Soldiers complaining about conditions. Censors cutting out references to cold, to mud, to casualties. Do not want news spreading. But everyone who served in Norway knew. This campaign was failing. August 10th. Major assault on Murmansk defense line. Every available unit committed. Artillery bombardment heaviest yet. Then infantry advancing. Straight into machine gun fire, minefields, artillery, Soviet defenders fighting from prepared positions, Germans dying in windows, assault waves breaking, falling back, trying again. 3 days of continuous attacks, each one repulsed. By August 13th, assault called off. German casualties, 2,000 dead or wounded. Soviet casualties unknown but heavy. But they held their positions. Murmansk would not fall. August 15th. Von Falkenhorst meeting with commanders again. Situation desperate. Cannot advance. Cannot retreat. Berlin demanding results. Von Falkenhorst making decision. One more attack. All-out effort. Everything committed. August 20th set as date. If this fails, operation over. Dig in for winter. Everyone knowing what that meant. 3 years later, they would still be sitting in same positions. But nobody knew that yet. They still hoped. One more attack. One more try. Then Murmansk would be theirs. But nature had different plans. August 18th, 2 days before planned assault. First snow falling, just flurries, melting on ground, but message clear. Summer was ending, and Arctic winter was coming. The real enemy was about to reveal itself. And when it did, Operation Silver Fox would die. Not from Soviet bullets, but from temperature dropping below -50°C, from darkness lasting 2 months, from cold so intense men froze to death while still alive. The Arctic was claiming its victims, and war was just beginning. September 1941. First real snow falling Arctic. Not flurries this time, heavy snow, accumulating. Within weak ground covered white. Temperature dropping fast. -5, -10, -15. And September not even over yet. German troops realizing horrible truth. Arctic winter not like European winter. This was different. This was survival test they never trained for. German quartermaster desperately requesting winter equipment. Heavy coats, insulated boots, sleeping bags rated for extreme cold. Berlin responding slowly. Everything going to forces around Moscow. Leningrad, southern fronts. Arctic was low priority. Some winter gear arriving. Not enough. Never enough. Officers deciding who gets warm clothes, who gets insulated boots. Impossible decisions. Men without proper gear dying from exposure even before fighting. October 1st. Temperature -20°C. Wind making it feel -30. Frostbite cases exploding. Field hospitals overwhelmed. Medics amputating frozen fingers, frozen toes, frozen noses. Men screaming as frozen flesh thawed. Gangrene setting in. Death following. And not from enemy. From weather. From being sent to Arctic without preparation. Commanders sending reports to von Falkenhorst. We cannot continue operations in these conditions. Need winter break to prepare. Von Falkenhorst forwarding requests to Berlin. Berlin responding. No winter break. Hold positions. Prepare for spring offensive. Mid-October. Something worse than cold arriving. Darkness. At Arctic latitude night lasts 2 months. Polar night. Complete 24-hour darkness. November through January. But transition happening gradually. October seeing sunset at noon. Sunrise at 10 in evening. Then sunset at 10. Sunrise at noon. World upside down. Men's circadian rhythms destroyed. Cannot sleep. Cannot stay awake. Exhaustion spreading like disease. Sentries falling asleep on watch. Officers cannot punish them. Everyone exhausted. Permanent twilight worse than pure darkness. At least in darkness, you know it is night. October 20th. Sun setting one last time. Not rising again until late January. 70 days of darkness beginning. German soldiers never experienced this. Scandinavian troops somewhat prepared. But Southern Germans, Austrians, Bavarians, they thought winter meant short days, not no days. Flashlights becoming precious. Battery conservation critical. No replacement batteries coming. When light died, stayed dead. Darkness absolute. Moon and stars only illumination. And when clouds covered sky, could not see hand in front of face. Psychological effects immediate. Depression spreading. Men losing sense of time, of purpose. Some refusing to leave bunkers. Sitting in darkness. Staring at nothing. Officers trying to maintain routines. Morning roll call. Except no morning. Afternoon patrols. Except no afternoon. Evening meal. Except it was always evening. Always night. Time lost meaning. Only darkness and cold. And waiting for something to happen. For attack. For relief. For anything to break endless black void. Soviet troops better prepared. They knew polar night. 14th Army troops, mostly from northern regions. Used to long darkness. Not comfortable, but familiar. They using darkness tactically. Patrol deep behind German lines. Sabotage supply dumps, ambush isolated positions, Germans hearing them, never seeing them, invisible enemy in invisible night. Fear spreading. Men firing at shadows, at nothing, wasting ammunition, revealing positions. Soviets just watching, waiting, letting Arctic do their work. November 1941. Temperature hitting -30°C regularly. -40 during cold snaps. Equipment failing. Metal so cold, it burned skin. Gun oil freezing. Weapons jamming. Engines refusing to start. Tanks abandoned. Trucks abandoned. Everything freezing. Everything breaking. Defensive positions becoming prisons. Men trapped in bunkers and trenches, afraid to go outside. Knowing 15 minutes exposed meant frostbite. 30 minutes meant death. Supply system collapsed. Roads buried under snow. Convoys not moving. What little supply getting through came by ski troops. Men pulling sleds loaded with ammunition. Food. Fuel. Heroic efforts. But never enough. Soldiers on half rations. Then quarter rations. Burning anything for heat. Furniture. Ammunition crates. Even rifle stocks. Anything that burned. Men huddling together for warmth. Body heat, only thing keeping them alive. December 1st. First cases of cannibalism reported. Isolated outposts cut off for weeks. Men starving. Some eating dead comrades. Not confirmed. Just rumors. But in Arctic darkness. In killing cold. Men capable of anything for survival. Officers investigating reports. Finding nothing. Or finding evidence too horrible to document. Either way, no charges filed, just quiet transfers, sending witnesses away, burying truth in darkness and snow. December 22nd, shortest day of year. Though no day existed, just endless night, small milestone. After this, days theoretically getting longer, though no one would notice until late January. German troops celebrating Christmas in bunkers. No Christmas trees, no decorations, some units singing carols in darkness. Voices echoing across frozen wasteland. Soviet troops listening, not interfering. Brief moment of humanity in inhuman place. Then silence returning. And war continuing. January 1942. Coldest month. Temperature dropping to -50°C. Life-threatening in minutes. Survival impossible without shelter. German defensive line static. No patrols, no attacks, no movement. Just existence. Holding out. Waiting for sun to return. Waiting for warmth. For anything. Soviet forces equally immobilized. Both sides frozen in place. War suspended by temperature beyond human tolerance. Late January. First hints of sun returning. Horizon glowing faint orange at midday. Not sunrise, just light. Promise of sun somewhere below horizon. Men weeping at sight. Grown soldiers crying at glimpse of twilight. Psychological impact immense. Maybe world not ended. Maybe sun not gone forever. Maybe survival possible. Morale lifting microscopically. But lifting. February 10th. Sun finally rising above horizon. Brief glimpse. 20 minutes. Then setting again, but it returned. Next day, 30 minutes. Then hour. Days growing. Light returning. Temperature still deadly -40, but light helped. Men could see again, could move, could remember being human instead of frozen corpses waiting to die. March 1942. Spring theoretically arriving. Temperature -20. Positively warm compared to winter. Sun above horizon 6 hours daily. Men venturing outside, seeing winter damage. Positions buried under 3 meters of snow. Equipment ruined. Buildings collapsed. And bodies. Hundreds of bodies. Frozen solid. Stacked like cordwood where they died. Waiting for ground to thaw for burial. Horrifying sight. Casualties from Arctic winter far exceeding combat losses. Operation Silver Fox, killed by cold before Soviets could. Both sides assessing damage. German Mountain Corps Norway lost 40% strength. Not from fighting, from weather. Frostbite, exposure, disease, starvation. Soviet 14th Army lost similar numbers, but they had replacements. Germans did not. Von Falkenhorst requesting reinforcements for spring offensive. Berlin denying request. No troops available. All reserves committed to Stalingrad, to Caucasus. Arctic theater abandoned. Orders simple. Hold current positions. Do not advance. Do not retreat. Just hold. Spring 1942. Bringing new horror. Thaw. Temperature rising above freezing during day. Snow melting, revealing bog underneath. Positions flooding. Trenches becoming swimming pools. Men bailing water constantly. Everything wet. Everything muddy. Equipment rusting. Food spoiling. Disease spreading. Dysentery. Typhus. Pneumonia. Field hospitals overwhelmed. Death rate staying high even as temperature climbed. Summer 1942. Front line stabilized. Germans dug into positions 30 kilometers from Murmansk, close enough to see city, too far to capture it. Soviet defenders holding strong defensive line. Neither side with strength for major offensive. Small raids, patrol actions, but no major battles. War becoming static. Positional warfare. Like Western Front, 1917. Except with worse weather. And less hope of victory. Von Falkenhorst relieved of command, July 1942. Berlin blaming him for Silver Fox failure. Though failure really belonged to planners who thought Arctic could be conquered on timetable. Replacement commander arriving. Looking at situation. Requesting immediate evacuation. Berlin refusing. Must hold positions for strategic reasons. Though what strategic reasons, no one could explain. Murmansk remained in Soviet hands. Railway remained open. Lend-Lease convoys kept arriving. Everything Silver Fox meant to prevent still happening. 1943 passing, front frozen, literally and figuratively. Both sides dug in. Another terrible winter. Another spring thaw. Another miserable summer. German troops becoming veterans of survival. Learning Arctic skills. Building better shelters. Stockpiling supplies. Preparing for winter starting in August. Because they knew now. Arctic winter started August. Lasted until May. Summer brief interlude between frozen hells. June 1944. Everything changing. Soviet forces breaking through in south. Leningrad relieved. Ukraine liberated. Wehrmacht retreating across entire Eastern Front. Only Arctic remained stable. But stability meaningless when war being lost elsewhere. Berlin ordering withdrawal from advanced positions. Pull back to Norway. Shorten defensive line. German troops happy to leave. 3 years in frozen hell. 3 years of survival without victory. Time to go home. Or what was left of it. September 1944. Finland signing armistice with Soviet Union. Withdrawing from war. German forces in Finland suddenly isolated. Finnish former allies now enemies. German troops racing west, trying to reach Norway before Finns turned on them. Brutal retreat. Scorched earth policy. Germans destroying everything as they withdrew. Towns burned. Bridges blown. Railways torn up. Mines planted everywhere. Turning northern Finland into wasteland. Final act of Operation Silver Fox. Leaving nothing but destruction. October 1944. Soviet 14th Army advancing into Norway. Chasing retreating Germans. Liberating Kirkenes. Same town where Germans launched attack 3 years earlier. Full circle. Soviet flags flying where swastika once waved. German forces continuing retreat into northern Norway. Losing ground daily. Operation Silver Fox ending where Barbarossa ended. In defeat. In retreat. In realization that some things could not be conquered. Arctic was one of them. Final accounting, devastating. Operation Silver Fox. Launched June 1941 with 100,000 men. Goal: capture Murmansk in 2 weeks. Result: 3 years of stalemate. 30,000 German casualties. 20,000 from weather. Only 10,000 from combat. Soviet casualties similar. 50,000 total. Massive losses for achieving nothing. Murmansk never threatened. Railway never cut. Strategic objectives completely failed. Most expensive failure of entire Eastern Front. And least known. Veterans of Silver Fox rarely talked about experience. Too painful. Too absurd. Men died to capture port, never captured. Fought war that changed nothing. Suffered beyond imagination in place where humans should not wage war. Arctic claimed them. Broke them. Sent survivors home with frostbite scars, missing fingers, missing toes, missing parts of souls. Some never recovered. Bodies returned home. Minds stayed frozen in Arctic darkness, forever trapped in memories of polar night, of cold beyond cold, of war against nature itself. Today Murmansk stands, thriving port city, Lend-Lease monuments reminding visitors of convoys that kept Soviet Union alive. No monuments to German soldiers who tried to capture it. No memorials to frozen battles in darkness. Only Arctic remembers. Wind still howling over old defensive positions. Snow still covering abandoned bunkers. And somewhere under permafrost lie bodies of men who learned too late. You cannot conquer cold. Cannot defeat darkness. Cannot win war against Arctic itself. That was lesson of Operation Silver Fox. Written in blood. In frostbite. In death. And forgotten by history that focuses on bigger battles. On more famous fronts. On victories instead of freezing failures in forgotten corners of Earth's coldest war. Operation Silver Fox remains one of least known operations of World War II. Yet it demonstrates fundamental truth of that war. Grand strategies mean nothing against reality of conditions. Hitler's generals planned campaign as if geography did not matter. As if weather was minor inconvenience. As if nature could be conquered by willpower and superior firepower. They were wrong. Catastrophically wrong. Arctic taught lessons Wehrmacht never learned. You cannot blitzkrieg through Tundra. Cannot supply army over roadless wilderness. Cannot fight effectively at -50 Celsius. Cannot maintain morale through 2-month polar night. These lessons applied everywhere on Eastern Front, but nowhere as clearly as in far north, where nature's cruelty exceeded even human capacity for cruelty. Soviet victory in North was not military genius, was simple reality. They knew terrain, knew climate, knew how to survive Arctic. And they were defending. Defender's advantage in Arctic absolute. Let attacker exhaust himself fighting geography. Then fight weakened enemy. Strategy working perfectly. Germans defeated themselves. Soviets just had to survive and wait. Legacy of Operation Silver Fox extends beyond war. Environmental damage remains. Unexploded ordnance. Contaminated sites. Abandoned positions slowly eroding. But real legacy is memory. Veterans who survived carry Arctic with them forever. Cold that never leaves bones. Darkness that never leaves mind. Memories of comrades frozen. Of screaming wind. Of endless night. These men won nothing. Lost everything. And their story deserves telling. Not as tale of glory, but as warning. Some places not meant for human war. Arctic is one of them. Operation Silver Fox proved that. With blood, with frostbite, with death, and with failure complete and total.